Well, happy Friday, everybody. I'm Nick Slavic. I'm the proprietor of the Nick Slavic Painting and Restoration Company. I'm also the host of this show, Ask a Painter Live. It's a weekly live Facebook show where I use my over 2 decades of experience as a craftsman and an entrepreneur to answer any of your questions. Now, for clients, for homeowners, this is a show where you can ask anything you've ever wanted to ask to a whole bunch of really professional paint business owners. And for paint business owners, you know what you're here for: apprenticeship, marketing, coding science, entrepreneurship, whatever else you want to talk about. So today we're going to be talking about the new Performance Series line of stains and finishes from Minwax. And they're only available through Sherwin-Williams stores, so kind of a cool thing. A lot of people who have been watching probably have had a ton of experience with Minwax. I know I have. It's one of my favorites. This is a brand new thing. We're going to get into that. We also have the PDCA Contractor Question of the Week that we're going to get into that has to do with financial planning for the next year. And I got some special announcements. The biggest one of them being that I am going to Brazil. A paint company called Souvenir and a whole bunch of other awesome people have sponsored my trip to Brazil. I'm going to meet my friend Ronnie, my friend Yvonne, hopefully my friend Giuliano down there. Ronnie has been a longtime friend. He heads up a trade school for painters down in Brazil, in Sao Paulo. And he's sort of my translator, my friend, and the grease in the wheels that gets all this going. So I'm flying down there, I'm hanging out with Ronnie, and we're doing a week-long tour of Brazil. Not next week, but the week after. So folks, this is an amazing thing. We're going to be talking about painting in America. We're going to be talking about painting in Brazil. I want to know what it feels like to be a painter in Brazil. I hear a lot, I see a lot. It's a very interesting culture down there. Our biggest painters chat room has maybe 16, 17,000 people here. The painters chat rooms down there have hundreds of thousands of painters in them. These people love painting. They absolutely love the trade. They are enthusiastic about it, and there's a whole bunch of crazy reasons that their trade is different down there. Number one being they marvel at our brushes, our tools, everything. They can get a lot of this stuff. It's very hard, but they pay an exorbitant amount of money down there. I've tried to ship people certain things down there, and it's got caught up in government red tape, and things have been delivered 4 months later back to me unclaimed, and it's just a disaster. So I'm going down there and I'm going to see what it's like. Hopefully, well, I'm bringing my painter's clothes, so I'm going to see what, hopefully they can put me to work for a day or so. And there's a whole bunch of good friends I have down there, and I cannot wait to go down there. So about a week from today, I will be heading to Brazil. I mean, seriously, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So first of all, the PDCA, Painting and Decorating Contractors of America, they are the largest group of professional paint business owners in the world. Everything that's ever happened to me good in my business has happened since I started meeting them and the contractors that are there. And they send in a contractor question of the week. Before that, though, I should mention that I believe it's October 31st is the deadline for early registration for the PDCA Expo in early March in Savannah, Georgia. This is where all hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of paint business owners get together. We talk business, we talk coatings, general lifestyle, all that good stuff. And to save some money on your registration, do that quickly. That early registration is going to shut down, and then you got to pay full freight. So I know that a whole bunch of people that we know and love from the internet are going to be there. I'll be presenting my brand new beloved master's class on solving the labor crisis with modern apprenticeship and growing a business doing so. So look forward to that. I've been getting good reviews on that. The PDCA Contractor Question of the Week this week is they collected a question from somebody wondering, what tools, what resources do you use for planning out your 2019 financially? This is a super unsatisfying answer, but the best answer is your analytics and metrics from 2018. So the best thing you can do as a business owner, and a lot of things came into focus. There's a lot of unanswered questions as paint business owners. We're like, how do you do this? What do you charge for that? What should this look like? Am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? If you track your numbers, you don't have to know what the numbers mean. You can just start tracking numbers. So for every job, obviously there's a price tag attached to that. Track how many hours, how much coating, how much each step took for you. And if you collect a whole year of that stuff, as soon as the weather turns here in Minnesota, you can sit down, you can hold yourself up while it's snowing and blizzarding outside, and you can basically compile those numbers into spreadsheets and see what made you money, what didn't, what are you taking longer on, what should you be taking shorter on. And the most useful bit of, if there was ever a tip, if there was ever a trick, if there was ever a bit of information that I thought was secret that is not secret, that was shared with me years ago, is that there's some basic industry standards you can base yourself on. And obviously we want to do better than the industry standards, but at least you can base your numbers on something, because sometimes just having numbers isn't good enough. Now you have to figure out what they mean. So the basic idea of, revenue comes in, that is a number. Once you get over a couple painters in your business, your paint and your materials is only going to be about 15% of that, give or take. Now, people go up, people go down a little. Industry standard on a business with probably, I'm guessing, anything more than 3, 4, 5 painters, you're only going to spend 15% on paint and materials. 40% of your expenses will be labor. And then when you compute all that, the overhead is the thing where it gets a little bit tricky. 20 to 25%, give or take. What you want to end up with is an actual profit of about 15% industry standard. Now, the smaller your company, the bigger that number is. When I had a couple painters with me, it was on the orders of magnitude larger than that, but the overall number was smaller. So I know some paint companies who approach 20. I know a lot of paint companies around 10 for profit. A lot of guys can tweak this number in a weird way. There's actually a really good discussion going on in the business group right now, business brush group, on how you actually compute net profit. And the biggest chicanery and trickery along with that is, what do you actually take out paying for yourself? So if you and your wife run your painting business and you don't take out salaries for yourself to get to profit, you're basically skewing your numbers. So if you have people that help out with your business and you don't pay them, it would cost something to replace them in that, and you need to take that out as a measure of overhead, and then you arrive with profit. There's some big companies out there who say they have, approaching 30% net profit at the end of the year. What they conveniently forget to take out is their wife's salary, who basically runs the back office of the business, who you would probably have to pay between $40,000 and $70,000 to arrive at that number. So I hope that helps out. Industry benchmarks. Honestly, this is unsatisfying, but tracking your numbers and just having a baseline of what you can actually produce is the most helpful thing to plan for 2019. Once you know what you can produce, you take an entire year, that's a big enough sample size, you see what you can produce per hour, and then it's basically a math problem. You add some more people to that, you subtract some people away, and that's how you do one of these. Once you hit a certain point, you need somebody to manage the amount of painters out there. Then you have to start adding in non-revenue producing overhead, and that's a whole other thing. But basically, sometimes unsatisfying, but just track your numbers. It's so simple. People think it's a complicated thing. You charge something for a job. You know what that is. There is a set amount of time that it took you to do that job. That is a known entity. And there's an amount of paint that you use for that. So use those numbers to sort of financially plan your 2019. And I see we have a little low connection here. So I'm going to see if I can move the phone here. All right, so we're going to get to the Performance Series, because we're in my shop, La Shop here. We're working on a set of kitchen cabinets with the entire company. Performance Series here. So biggest thing you're going to notice is that this is only through Sherwin-Williams. It's a new stain experience. They have 48 modern colors, a brand new sort of color palette to choose from. The biggest thing any fans of Minwax are going to notice is clear base. This is a tintable stain now, so there's a base where you can actually get it made up. Long gone are these sort of huge shelves of the pre-mixed stains. You're still going to find those stuff, but in the Performance Series, this is what we have now. It's tintable, so you can get quantities of it. You don't have to hope that there's just a special size and number of it there. 48 colors. Basically, the idea is maximum beauty, minimum effort, and the drying times are much improved on this stuff. So for anybody who's a fan of traditional Minwax, this is one of my favorites because it's an oily stain. It's got a lot of open time, but not so much open time that it attracts a whole bunch of dust, but it would also, because it had that little bit of open time, it was a more oily kind of wiping stain as we know them. It did minimize a lot of blotching. So you can go with heavily pigmented stains with alcohol bases, and they sort of tend to blotch because they absorb so quickly. Minwax always had enough of an open time to sort of let it seep in evenly, not do anything too crazy. The biggest difference is you can do an actual oil stain, 2 coats of oil varnish in 1 day. So this stain has a 2-hour recoat time. The Performance Series Fast Dry Varnish has a 4-hour recoat time. So recently I did just that. I stained some cabinets. I immediately got back on them, and we did a stain and 2 top coat finish all in a day. And you're not sacrificing quality, water resistance, durability, anything like that. For anybody who follows me, you guys know that I'm a big fan of sort of oil varnishes, alkyd varnishes like that. You're still getting that super durable finish, super water resistant, which is very important with kitchen cabinets, doors, things like that. But you can do it all in a day. So also remember that a lot of this stuff and I'm actually I got a door here. I'm gonna put a little bit on for you guys here in a second, so hold tight. But you know, all this stuff is available through Sherwin-Williams now. So you got the power of Sherwin-Williams behind you. Remember, there's also fillers, there's also putties, there's also wood conditioners for super blotchy woods, there's sealers, and there's varnishes in this whole line here. So, and for those of you who have not seen it, certainly go track down one of the brochures. It's got the full complement of sort of standard Minwax stuff, but it also has the Performance Series stuff here. So this one ends up being the varnish. On the back side, we have the stain here. I see we're losing connection here again. Give me just a second, see if I can solve this guy. All right, so I'm gonna crack one of these open here, and we're going to put a little bit on. So we have hog bristle brush, natural bristle brush, one of my favorites for applying stain. Holds a lot of stain, doesn't flick anywhere. We have a oak cabinet door, brand new oak cabinet door, given to me by a contractor friend. We have a lint-free cotton rag, and we're gonna do a little staining. So I got the air exchanger on in the shop, we got the dehumidifier going, we got the fans on to clear this out. I will not put on a respirator only because I want to be able to talk to you guys. The stain that I mixed up is ebony. Up in Minnesota, people want us to do a lot of woods in a very dark stain color. So ebony is one of the darker. It's kind of got this nice brownish, kind of blackish sort of color to it. And so let me switch this around for you. And we'll stain a little bit here. All right. So kind of fun right now. We finished up some cabinet finishing, some work in the shop here, and we sent a couple of the crews out on little small missions, tiny jobs that needed to be taken care of, especially because the summer is short here. And I started sending out other crews with the company vans to do sort of detailing and cleanup jobs. So we got them, we're gonna strip down the vans, get all the gear out, we're gonna empty out all of our totes, those famous totes we have that are full of this, a certain type of gear. And then we are going to clean them all out. We're gonna restock, and we're going to basically detail the vans, vacuum them out, wash all the windows, take them through the car wash, get them all cleaned up so that next week we can hit the ground running. We got a busy week. We're in a week of sort of getting the company ready for me being gone for a week. We're lining up all our jobs, we're getting all our supplies ready, stocking up the vans so that nobody has any little stumbles on jobs before the end of the week. Get the edge here too. And you guys will notice a difference in the Minwax stain, the new Performance Series. A little bit thicker than the Minwax we're used to. It's got a lot of pigmentation. Covers really nice, soaks in evenly, but also gives you enough open time. It is a fast dry product, but it also gives you enough open time so that you can actually do a large surface and still have time to come back and wipe it off. So lint-free cloth. So when I normally wipe down stain and varnish jobs, I first go around to get the bulk of everything. And then you do one last kind of final pass to tweak it to get any last little brush marks or hazing areas or unevenness out of it. And then with the Performance Series Fast Dry Varnish, it's actually a 4-hour recoat time. It dries to the touch in 15 minutes, so it'll tack up really quick. So if you're on a job site, it's not going to attract a lot of dust. But then it'll set up really quickly, and the beauty of that stuff is we all know a lot of products that say, you know, can recoat in 4 hours or 2 hours or 6 hours, but the real test for me is when can you sand it? So what I'm interested in is you could recoat something, but if you can't sand it between coats, it's kind of not that useful, especially when you're dealing with a finish. In a simple 3-coat system where you stain it, varnish it, you have to sand down that first coat of varnish. We call it the SVT, the sand, the vac, and the tack, to get it smooth so that your second coat is smooth. If you're just going to recoat it, that's kind of a destroyed door. So we have an oily rag, can full of water. Standard operating procedure for people in my company. We dunk it in water, completely submerge it. You don't want it to spontaneously combust. I've only seen a rag spontaneously combust once in my life, and that was the last time I will ever see that. So stained up, ready to go. In 2 hours, this could be top coated with a real varnish. So let's go through, see who's got any questions here. Melissa Lorello, do you need a wood conditioner with this new stain? No. Wood conditioners are interesting. I've used them before quite a bit. The only downside of using a wood conditioner is a think of it as like a very, very thin down finish. You apply to the wood, it's a clear. It makes sure everything absorbs it evenly, brings it up to a stable substrate so that stain will come in evenly. Only downside with conditioners is that you're not going to get a very, very deep stain to do one coat over the top of that, because you have actually sealed some of the stuff. The stain doesn't penetrate. So if you're doing super, super dark colors, if you need an ebonized product, if you need super dark, reddish mahogany, it's going to be more difficult to do that. Otherwise, I've used them with a whole bunch of, your chestnuts, your walnuts, your things like that, where we do it on pine, and pine is notorious for that sort of thing. And we do a wood conditioner, sand down the wood conditioner, and then put a stain on it. It works really well. But you don't need a wood conditioner. And in fact, I would say more often than not, people complicate the process with it. Always try samples with a stain and 2 coats of varnish. If that doesn't work, then you start going to other things, but don't overcomplicate the process here. So, Aaron, standing here. Sometimes when staining, if you don't wait long enough to varnish, the stain pulls when you brush on the polyurethane. This stain won't do this. So all oil stains have a tendency to do that. The more heavily pigmented the oil stains are, the more likely they are to do that. So if you have a very light golden oak stain, you'll find that it won't do that a lot because there's not a lot of pigment to drag out of it. But if you use an ebony, red mahogany, something with tons and tons of pigment particles in it, the oils will sort of, because a stain doesn't have any finish. Those pigment particles are not sealed in. The stain is just a vehicle to get the pigment there. So if you can, I'm a huge fan of spraying on the top coats. I love hand finishing myself, but if you're going to hand finish, sometimes I'll even put a coat of sanding sealer or oil varnish or something on first sprayed, and then you can always hand finish, because yes, it will drag when you do things like that. And that is a function more of the amount of pigment than the actual stain there. So I hope that helps. I'm going to scroll back up just a little bit here, see what we got going on. Kristen Tripp, thanks for watching. Oh, Alex St. Germain, one of my apprentices, must be on the road here. Ryan Trury, one of my favorite people, love that. Sean Comerford, let's see what we got here. Patrick Song, Ricardo, Paul Rafferty, James Gilbert, Dan Ross, love Dan Ross. If nobody's ever met Dan Ross, go find Dan Ross. He's an awesome guy. He works in California. He's a guy I look up to greatly in this industry. Phil Klein, my good friend from Iowa. Nick Slavic and his global reach. Yeah. It's interesting stuff, man. It's all interesting. So, oh yeah. How Carlos Ferreira. Awesome. Mario. So cool. All right, guys. So let's see what else we got here. Pat Haas, Brian Kuhn. All right, Sean Comerford. Happy Friday to you, man. So, okay, everybody. Biggest thing is, a week from now, I go to Brazil. I will try to represent American Painter as well. I am basically going down there to give my story, tell people what it's like to paint in America, and hopefully this can be sort of like a diplomatic mission where we exchange something of value. I hope they get something from me. I know I will definitely get something from them down there. So all my Brazilian friends down there, look forward to that. Also, early registration for the PDCA Expo. The Painting and Decorating Contractors of America has their National Expo early March in Savannah, Georgia. I will be there. A whole bunch of the people you know and love. Nick May will probably be there. Jason Paris will be there. Dustin Zapanzik will probably be there. And I'm actually bringing my wife down there too. So for those of you who know Toots, she was on the boat cruise here when we had the PDCA Residential Forum. So you'll get to see her again down there. Early registration ends soon. I believe it's on the 31st. So if you want to save some money on your registration, register now. It's an awesome event. You get to speak to some awesome people that help me change my idea of what we're doing in this business. So you don't want to miss that. Ryan Turry, Nick, do you have any recommendations on how to best apply stain to woodwork like baseboard or door trim without getting it on the walls? Do you tape off the walls? I have not found any tape that will have a perfectly cut line when you're done with oil stain. So in the case like in what we're probably thinking of here, Ryan, is the short answer is no. The more delicate answer is I've solved this problem by just telling my clients what's going to happen. We did this this last winter a few times where existing house, probably from the 80s, had all the windows replaced, including interior trim. Of course, the carpenters did not pre-finish any of it. They just put everything in bare. So we have finished painted walls in a finished house with carpet and furniture and people. And then they want us to stain and varnish in the house. So what I basically just told the clients is, listen, I will protect your walls. I'll take 12-inch plastic. I'll try to slip it behind, you know, the casings there. I will take blue tape. I'll put it on the wall. Anything stickier will probably rip part of the wall off. I will stain this. I will varnish it. There is a very high likelihood, we're talking over 90%, that some of your walls will probably need to be touched up. There's a very high likelihood that touch-up painting will not match, constituting a wall-to-wall finish, something like that. We were able to keep these walls very clean, minimal touch-up, it was fine, but I have not found a way, like even when we pre-finish a bunch of Anderson and Marvin windows in the shop, we've tried frog tape, we've tried delicate tape, we've tried tan, we've tried everything. Honestly, the simplest way to stop an oil substance is just standard blue tape, either Sure Tape or 3M, just a standard painter's grade high-end blue tape. It does a great job. And you know, you're gonna have bleed through if you have oil stain, especially because we're working it around, we're wiping it, it stays open longer, it has more time to seep in. So honestly, I wish I had a magic answer for you, Ryan, but there's no magic answer. It's just you're gonna get bleeding with oil stain and stuff like that. Now with oil varnish, that's another thing. It's thick enough and it usually tacks up quick enough where you probably won't get bleeding, but oil stain, that's always a tricky one, man. Rob Morris, Isaac, Dean Cudd, Carol St. Germain, thanks for watching. Micah Stetler, I'll be coming up to see Micah and the guys later on today. Dustin, maybe Dustin's got a trick. Dustin's the master of finishing. I wonder if you know if keeping stain from you're doing a piece of baseboard on a finished wall. Is there any way besides not getting stain on the wall, just taking your time and going down like that? Any tricks for prepping that stuff? Chris Shank, the great and powerful Chris Shank, the education guy from the PDCA. Gonzalo, hello to you. Jane Cram, thank you for watching. See what else I did? Oh, Danny Airy. Love watching Danny Airy online. Jason James. Let's see. Michael Herman, how about Peel Tech? If I understand, I think Peel Tech is the clear stuff that you either brush or spray on glass. The only problem with that stuff is if you have a raw piece of wood or a window and you spray that stuff on, you've just sealed the wood. It's not going to accept stain or anything. If you're painting over, yes. If possibly, I wonder if that stuff would work on a painted surface, or if I assume it would stick to a painted surface. So if you had a finished wall and you brushed on some Peel Tech or some that clear liquid tape or whatever like that, I wonder if that's what you're talking about. I have a feeling that would stick to a painted surface very well, and you may just repaint their whole house for them here. Danny Airy, have I tried snot tape? I have not. I've seen it around. It's a stuff, it's got a larger bead of, I think, sealant or chemical on the edges. I've not tried it before, and I'd be curious. I was wondering, my first impression was that it was for stucco or textured walls, but I'm not sure. So I would love to try it out though. Oh, Michael Harmon, excuse me, green stuff, new to the market. Is that the, let's see what we got here, Peel Tech. Is that a tape? If that is the tape, I haven't tried it yet. I'd be curious to see where you get it and who makes it. So I will certainly look it up. But okay, everybody. Let's see, early registration for PDC Expo. Get out there and save some money. I'll be down there. I would love to meet you guys down there. Brazil, a week from now. Last thing, and then we're out of here. Thank you to Sherwin-Williams for underwriting the show. Thank you to PDCA for underwriting the show. And if you guys haven't tried the new Performance Series stuff, just give it a try. It's an awesome tool, and it's at all your Sherwin-Williams that you go to regularly. So let's see what Dustin has to say. Not that I found. I think you hit the nail on the head. It's all about managing expectations, yeah. And that's what I've sort of found too. So I would absolutely agree with you. All right. Perfect. All right, well, thanks everybody. I appreciate everybody watching. Thanks to the PDCA. Thanks to Sherwin-Williams. I'm wrapping it up here. I'm gonna make sure everything's getting done here, and then we are I'm actually headed up to go spend some time with some people I care for very much this afternoon. So we will talk to all you guys later. We'll see you next week. Thanks everybody for watching the videos, and have a great weekend.